go again, Accordion Cool. The first tune was called Jukebox Saturday Night. And actually it was around 1942 when it was recorded by the Glenn Miller Orchestra. So that doesn't really sound like something Glenn Miller Orchestra would do, but hey, you know, whatever works. And a young lady who plays accordion, and she actually has appeared on this show, and she's the one that turned me on to that tune. So here we go, Jukebox Saturday Night, and I'm just pushing buttons here so I can get to the sound for our next tune. So just, if I'm boring, you'll just talk amongst yourselves. So Jukebox Saturday Night, 1942, Glenn Miller Orchestra. Okay, we're going back a couple of years from 42 to 39. And this song, I don't think it came from a show or anything. Just a couple of guys said, hey, let's write a song, and so they decided, and now we got one. And this is a classical jazz standard called Once in a While. Once in a While. Okay, let's see what we got here. Once in a while, will you try to give one little thought to me? Oh, well. Well, this next tune was kind of a pretty tune. It was written in 1955, and not a lot of people did too much with it. But some fellow named, I can never think of this guy's name. He wasn't that well known. Sinatra. Sinatra had the hit on this tune, and it's just a nice tune to play. And it's called, very similar to the one before, In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning. That's When You Miss Him. Oh my goodness, all these sad songs. So let's see what happens. Wee small hours of the morning. This next tune is one of my favorites, and I had never heard it until Art Van Dam played. Of course, he only had about 40 albums, so there probably aren't a lot of tunes he didn't play. But this tune is interesting because it was written around 1937. At about that same time, some little movie came out. It wasn't much of a hit. It was only called Gone with the Wind. Oh, that's right. That's the name of the song, too, Gone with the Wind. Well, it didn't come from the movie, and this fellow was criticized for, kind of piggybacking off the movie. And he said, no, separate song, nothing to do with the movie. I just felt like writing it and calling it Gone with the Wind. True or not, who knows? All those folks are gone by now. But let's see, let's play a little Gone with the Wind. Here we go. Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind. So is the song, so is the fellow that wrote it, and who cares if he copied it, but what can we say? All right. This next tune was made very popular by another fellow, name I just can't remember. Got a big house in Memphis. Elvis, that's his name, yeah. And he was in a movie called Blue Hawaii. And this song came from Blue Hawaii, and of course became a big hit for him like everything else he did. A little tune. And he used to, I think, in his shows, he would go over and start playing on the piano. He probably learned 3 or 4 chords, and now he's a piano player. Anyway, little tune called I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. Help Falling in Love with You. Well, you know, we got a couple of extra minutes here. I thought maybe we might. So I've got to do a tune about a city called Kansas City, and written I think it was around 58 or so. A fellow named Wilbert Harrison. He was kind of a jazzy country type folk singer or whatever. And he had a big hit on this tune, and unfortunately, as far as I can tell, that's the only big hit he had. But Kansas City, been there, an interesting place. So let's see what it sounds like. Kansas City. You know, in Kansas City, they have a museum called the Arabia. The Arabia was one of the boats, paddle wheel or whatever it was, that used to go up and down the Missouri River. Now, Kansas City, whether you're at Kansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri, depends on what side of the river you're on. But many, many years ago, a fellow had a farm right near the water, right near the rivers, digging in his pasture, and all of a sudden he came up with something. He kept digging, called a few folks in, and it was a boat called the Arabia, because the river had shifted so much over the years that his farm was actually where the river was at one time. The Arabia sank, and now it's in a museum in Kansas City. And we went there to look at it. Unfortunately for us, the fellow that found it and helped dig it out was there. So he gave us a real great talk on it. So the Arabia in Kansas City. Okay, I guess we're pretty much down to time now. This next tune comes from a play called The Beggar's Opera, around something like 1723. And no, Austin, I was not there. And it tells the story of a Robin Hood type character named Macheath. And, used to rob from the rich, give to the poor, that type of thing. And 1928, they decided to resurrect this. They called it, what do they call it? They called it, I forget now, it'll come to me. The Threepenny Opera, that's what it was. And they changed Macheath's character to a nice Robin Hood fellow to a scoundrel, a really bad guy. Wrote a song around 1960 or so, a fellow named Bobby Darin. Had a big hit, little song called Kansas City. Here we go. Back the knife. Sorry for that little squeak squawk in the middle. See, all these buttons give me a different sound. Right near the end, there's no different sounds in them yet. So If I hit the wrong one, can't imagine me. Oh, yeah, I just did it. Well, then it's, you know. Anyway, thank you all for watching. We're just about the end of our time. Coach Dave saying thanks to all you folks and bringing in the young'uns to hear this great music. And of course, big thank you to the big guy. I think I probably drove him crazy today with a couple of these funny things. But Austin Ricketts, behind the glass. When I screw up, it's probably the instrument because he makes me look good the rest of the time. So, like I said, bring those young'uns in to hear this music, and we're going to see you all next time. So let's, if I got the right buttons pushed, let's go home with a little, I don't know, Mac the Knife sounds good.